I'm sure most everyone is familiar with How the Grinch Stole Christmas. Either there's, of course, the original book, there's the animated special from the 60s, there's the live action movie with Jim Carrey, there's the, the computer animated one with Benedict Cumberbatch. And I'm going to be talking about all of those today. So one of the songs that, of course, gets played so much this time of year, when it comes to Christmas, of course, is, as the shirt says, "You're a sly one, Mr. Grinch," or "You're a mean one, Mr. Grinch" is the name of the song. And so I decided that I was just going to do a video about that, about the history of the Grinch. Because I love the Grinch. And I think this is actually this might be the first Christmas video that's going up. I don't remember what order I put them in. I recorded them in a little out of order. But I have like this Christmas one that's going to be about the Grinch. I have another one that's the Muppets Christmas Carol. I have one that is about kind of the Nutcracker a little bit. And then I'm going to have some about some different Disney movies. There's not that many specific Disney Christmas movies. There's, of course, Belle's Enchanted Christmas, which, of course, I love, for Beauty and the Beast, of course, that they did as its own independent, as a sequel, of course. Well, kind of like it takes place during the actual time frame when the curse is going on in the castle, but you get the idea. But I am going to do a couple of other videos, reviews of Mickey's Once Upon a Christmas and Twice Upon a Christmas, which are all just different stories based around, the Disney main cast with, Mickey, Minnie, Donald, Goofy, Daisy, Max, and then, of course, the triplets, Huey, Dewey, and Louie. And then I'm going to do on, I think I'm going to have it be on Christmas Eve itself. I am going to have a video that is a review of Mickey's Magical Christmas Snowed In at the House of Mouse. So that'll be fun because I get to talk about the House of Mouse. And these are going to kind of get spread out throughout the course of the rest of December, along with the other regular videos. Let's start off with the history of the book itself. So, the story of the Grinch started with the book that came out in 1957, of course, the book, of course, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, written by Dr. Seuss, or Theodore Dr. Seuss Geisel, in 1957. I couldn't find any specific stats for like how many books sold so quickly or like how popular they were, but he'd already done quite a few Cat in the Hat books, and of course several other things in regards to other books that he'd written that had the Cat in the Hat in them, or had several of his other books. One of my favorite ones that they have, and I don't have the book up here, is On Beyond Zebra, because it was just like this fun way of making up new things for On Beyond Zebra. And the legacy, and of course, the book itself was quite popular. And then about 10 years later, they did the animated version. And then, of course, that's where the legacy comes into play for the How the Grinch Stole Christmas. So slight legacy for it. Based on a 2007 online poll, the National Education Association listed the book How the Grinch Stole Christmas as one of its teachers' top 100 books for children. And in 2012, it was ranked 61st among the top 100 picture books, and then in a survey published by the School Library Journal. The fourth of 5 Dr. Seuss books on the list. So I'm sure that includes several Cat in the Hat books and Green Eggs and Ham and several other books that go along with it, because of course he wrote so many books that were so fun for children to read. Now, as you'll notice, I have several Grinch shirts. I actually have 5 Grinch shirts. The other one kind of doesn't appear very well on camera. It's just like another version of the Grinch's face on the shirt. And I wear these at least one a week leading up to Christmas on all the Advent Sundays. And they get progressively more and more Grinchy. And so this Sunday I'll be wearing I'm Kind of a Big Deal one over there. And then on Christmas Eve, I wear my Merry Grinchmas shirt which is the one way on the corner. And then on Christmas Day itself, I don't actually wear a Christmas shirt. I wear Christmas shirts like all the way throughout the weeks leading up to Christmas, and then on Christmas Day, I just wear just like, oh, some other random shirt, because I'm me. And it's just fun that way. Just like, but you have so many Christmas shirts. I didn't want to wear another Christmas shirt. I wanted to wear this. So that's fun. But more into the legacy of the books. Of course, they were written, the book itself was written, of course, by Theodore Geisel. And since the publication of the book, Grinch has also become another word for, killjoy or spoil sport. You're a Grinch and everything like that. And as I mentioned this in the Muppet Christmas Carol video, or will be mentioned later on when I get to that, because I recorded that one first. The Grinch is also based on, Scrooge, because Grinch is supposed to be this very, lonesome character up on the top of Mount Crumpet and everything as it's called. And, his only companion is his dog, Max. And that's pretty true throughout all the variations of the Grinch, the book, and then the TV special, and the movie, and the other movie, and plays that have been done, plays and musicals that are based around the different movies and such. In regards to that, the Grinch, as I said, is a reference to Charles Dickens, Scrooge. And, he's this, this very mean, grumpy, angry character that thinks nobody should celebrate Christmas because it doesn't do anything and it just causes problems, or it gives people a day off from work. And of course, Scrooge doesn't like that, and Grinch doesn't like all the noise that comes along with it, of course. And, of course, via the magic of Christmas, both of their ideas about Christmas are, of course, changed. The Grinch is in a little bit more of a small child made cute eyes at him way, and in the form of Scrooge, he got haunted quite a bit. We're going to make you re-examine your life. Why? Moving on, the first, of course, version that is made of this in regards to television or movies is, of course, the 1966 TV animation special of How the Grinch Stole Christmas, which was directed and done by Chuck Jones, who is very famous for like the Looney Tunes things. So there's like some things that are very similar to the Looney Tunes in it. And one of the things, of course, is the special is narrated by Boris Karloff. And if that name sounds familiar, it's because he's also very famous for playing Frankenstein in the 1931 version of the film. He also played Frankenstein in The Bride of Frankenstein, and I think there's another one that goes along with it. And he played so many of these different, MGM horror movie type thing, or Universal horror movie type thing, excuse me. And he does the narration of How the Grinch Stole Christmas, and he also is the voice of the Grinch in it. And, he had so much fun with that. And I love just the narration that goes along with it and everything like that. The Grinch's head wasn't screwed on quite right. And, I love how, Boris Karloff brought those words to life in that, and I love it. And of course, the other character in the story, in How the Grinch Stole Christmas, in the animated one, that actually has lines in it is, of course, Cindy Lou Who. And she is, of course, the tiny little Who daughter who got up for a cold drink of water in the middle of the night. And Cindy Lou Who is adorable, and she just represents just this little innocent child, and I love it. And how just like part of her interaction with the Grinch is one of the things that kind of turns him on his head throughout the course of the special, and of course the story itself. And Cindy Lou Who is voiced by June Foray. Now, I'm sure a lot of you have heard of Mel Blanc, who of course did so many of the voices for the Looney Tunes characters for Bugs and Daffy and Taz and Elmer Fudd and so many of the other characters, so many of the male characters. June Foray, quoted by Chuck Jones, is June Foray is not the female Mel Blanc. Mel Blanc is the male June Foray, which says something, because June Foray voiced Rocky the Flying Squirrel from Rocky and Bullwinkle. She also voiced Natasha Fatale, who is of course from Natasha and Boris from Rocky and Bullwinkle. She voices Granny and Tweety in so many of the Looney Tunes cartoons, along with so many of the other just random other female characters that they have pop up throughout the course of the series. She does most of those voices. She's also done so many different voices for Disney over the years, which is just so fun. So she's done so many different voices, and I love her. And unfortunately, she did pass away in 2017. She was born in 1917, died in 2017, like a couple of months shy of her like 100th birthday. So she was like 99 years old, and she was awesome. And she, did so many things. So just go and listen to some of her stuff. She's amazing. I don't know if they brought her back to do anything for like Animaniacs or anything like that, or Tiny Toons, but I wouldn't have been surprised if they found a way to put her in one of those episodes at some point in time. I don't know if they did or not, but she's been in so many different things as so many of the different variations of characters in Disney and in, Warner Brothers and so many other miscellaneous animations and everything. So June Foray is awesome. Moving on, of course, the other big part of, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, the movie, or the special, and subsequently through the rest of the variations of it, is, of course, the song You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch. Now, the song itself was written by Dr. Seuss, by Theodore Geisel himself, so it very much fits with like the way that the book is supposed to go. So it's still that same kind of pattern of, fun words and fun descriptions and everything like that like kids can understand. I mean, there's a few more obscure things that like a kid may not know what like arsenic is, but there's like other things that they know, like a moldy toadstool and sauerkraut sandwich, and like all these other descriptions of all these, gross things, you're a bad banana with a greasy black peel, and your heart's an empty soul, and your brain is full of spiders, and you've got garlic in your soul and everything. And I just love all the quotes that are in the song, and just like listening to the song on the radio made me feel like I want to do a video about the Grinch because I love the Grinch. And actually, one of the days when I wore one of the shirts to church for one of the Advent Sundays, one of the moms was just like, we read my nephew, my nephew is, learning about the Grinch for the first time, and she's like, yeah, he also was concerned about the fact that the Grinch's heart grew 3 sizes. And I'm like, well, in actuality, if your heart did grow 3 sizes, like physically grow, that would be bad. But if it was, it's like you have to find that it's a metaphor. It's like an example of the fact that like the love in his heart grew as opposed to, his physical heart actually growing. So there's always that and everything. Now, the song itself, How You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch, was composed by Albert Hagu. I apologize if I mispronounced it. And the song is performed by Thurl Ravencroft, who, Nebraska connection, is from Norfolk, Nebraska. Which one of my coworkers is from Norfolk, and then I think I have family up near there. So the song itself is, the whole big fun song in the movie. It's just in the specials, and of course it's been in both of the other versions of it. In the Jim Carrey one from the 2000 live action film, Jim Carrey performs it as the Grinch, in character. And then it is used in the stage musical at various points in times. And then in the 2018 CGI film, of course, with Benedict Cumberbatch, it is performed by Tyler, the Creator. A new, more up-to-date version is performed. And the one that usually gets played on the radio is, of course, the Thurl Ravencroft version, because he just does this great, deep version of the song with the deep voice and everything, and it's so awesome. And actually, and I found this out when I was doing research for this video, in the original credits for How the Grinch Stole Christmas for the special, Thurl Ravencroft was not given credit for being the one that sang the song. I don't know if that was an oversight or what, but they then assumed that it was like, it was just Boris Karloff that sang the song. So it was originally attributed to him And then he's like, no, I can do a lot of things, but I can't sing. And then like it then got attributed to like someone else, and then eventually it was like, no, it was sung by Thurl Ravencroft. So that's fun there. And of course, just the lines in the song are just so funny anyway. And like I'm just sitting there and driving in my car and singing with them and like, yep, I know these songs. So that's just fun. Moving on into other parts of the legacy of How the Grinch Stole Christmas. In 1977, they had a special that was Halloween is Grinch Night. So it's just much more thing of like the Grinch getting to be all nasty and mean and everything. And then the other one that they had in 1982 was the Grinch's The Cat in the Hat. Because, the Grinch is like this antithesis of the Cat in the Hat. Where the Cat in the Hat likes to bring joy. He brings chaos as well, but he likes to bring joy to people. And of course, the Grinch, he likes to bring chaos, but he also just likes to, screw with people. He stole Christmas from an entire town, and then, singing made him realize that that was a bad idea, and it made him better. And then there is, of course, the How the Grinch Stole Christmas from 2000, where, of course, he is played by Jim Carrey. And Jim Carrey has stated that parts of being the Grinch he loved, but when he had to go through all of the prosthetic makeup and everything like that for getting the Grinch costume on, because it's like, the costume itself, like from like the neck down, it was kind of like a fat suit a little bit. And of course, that has the fur all over it, but it's still very heavy. It was the face that was the big problem for him, and like even like the makeup on his hands and everything like that were the big problem, because it's literally just like layered on your skin. And he said that he had like found like a CIA torture trainer that like taught him how to like deal with having to sit there for so long and get everything put on him. And I'm like, oh, that sounds fun. But I mean, like, I can't think of anyone that would have been better to play the Grinch than Jim Carrey in a live action version of it. So I approve of that entirely. And he just did an amazing job as the Grinch in that. And the girl that they have play Cindy Lou Who did a great job. And of course, in the live action version, we get more of a backstory of the Grinch. We kind of find out why he more doesn't like Christmas. And it has to do with, girl love, idiots in class that, made fun of him, and him getting embarrassed, and then he leaves. And of course, same thing. By the end of the movie, he's, better and everything. And the other song that's in that movie is Where Are You Christmas? Or Christmas, Why Can't I Find You? Or like the two versions of the song. And one is sung by Faith Hill, and that's the more pop version of it. And I love the song. Love it whenever it pops up on the radio. And then the other version that's in the film is when it's sung by the little girl that plays Cindy Lou Who, because she's kind of going through this moment where she's like, well, I don't know if I understand what Christmas is supposed to be anymore. Everyone around here makes it seem like it's all about the presents and all about the, lights and contests and everything like that. And she's going through her own issues, and I like how they kind of play that up in the movie. And then they do kind of take a different direction with that, with the Grinch movie from 2018, where of course we have Benedict Cumberbatch playing the Grinch. Again, did an amazing job as the Grinch. We get, at times, he's a little bit more upbeat than, of course, the Jim Carrey Grinch, or of course the Grinch from the animated ones. But Benedict Cumberbatch did an amazing job as the Grinch in those. And he had so much fun with that. And of course, the Cindy Lou Who character, of course, in that one is, her wish is that she wants to find Santa, and she wants to, of course, ask him to make things easier for her mother, because her mother seems to be a single mother, and she has, and of course her mother is raising her and then her two younger brothers, her two twin, infant baby, toddler baby brothers. And we never get an answer. I don't think we ever find out in the movie, like, if like Cindy Lou Who's father died or if their parents got a divorce. I don't know. But Cindy Lou Who very much wants to, find a way to make things a little bit better for her mother. And part of the interactions that, of course, the Grinch has with her throughout the movie are, of course, things that lead down the line to him, of course, being better. So that's fun. And, we get the song, You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch is, of course, in there again by Tyler, the Creator, as I said. And there's just so many fun things that they do in that movie. And I just love how they designed Whoville and like all the different variations of it. Cause it's like, it gets bigger each time. And And I talked about this with one of my coworkers, where it's just like, okay, in the first one, in the original version, How the Grinch Stole Christmas, Whoville does not seem to be extremely large. It's not like this huge metropolitan area like the size of like New York and like the boroughs and everything. It's not that big. It looks to be much more closer to like a small town. And, so there's not as many things that need to be done. And, it's not like they have like security alarms in their home in these cases. But like with, the first one, with the first version of the Grinch, in the animated version, it's, him very quickly coming up with the plan of like, I'm going to steal Christmas from everyone. And then like we see him go and do that. And he uses, different things to, make it go faster and everything. But then it's like, okay, and then he, takes everything and then he leaves and then he comes back with everything after he's, had his moment of, I'm sorry, and I know what Christmas is now, and then, I get to got to carve the roast beast and everything. And then in the Jim Carrey one, it's still a little bit of this, harebrained scheme that like he comes up with very quickly. But we get a little bit more of like seeing him build the sleigh and seeing him like test the sleigh and crash test dummy style and like doing all these other things. So we see him more building up a little bit more of a plan. It doesn't seem as quite, where did you come up with all this stuff? And that seems to go better. And then in the 2018 version, the Benedict Cumberbatch version, the Grinch, we see him like planning out everything for it. It's like, okay, so we have this many houses, this amount of time, and, planning everything out to get everything that he needs to steal Christmas and like stop Christmas from coming and everything like that. And we see him do more planning with that, and we see him do, build, making all these different gadgets and everything like that he uses to help him along his way. And so I just find that very funny. That was like, okay, plot hole in the movie. How does he have time for this? Because like in each case, Whoville seems to grow from, one iteration to the next, which is just kind of funny. I just find that so funny. I have so many memories of, watching The Grinch, and, I don't think I've ever seen Halloween is Grinch Night or The Grinch is the Cat in the Hat. And I don't know if there were book versions of those or not. I have seen Seussical the Musical, which is a musical, of course, based around different Dr. Seuss books where they take elements from the different books. And one of those is, it's like Horton Hears a Who and Horton Hatches an Egg are there. And, several of these other ones that are part of it. Loud person in a car. And several of these other Dr. Seuss things that are a part of it. And, like, the Grinch is in it, too. He's, like, a very minor character in it. He's not, like, this big major character. But he is, still in, Whoville, because, like, the Whoville that he's part of is this, this version of, is like the Whoville that's in, Horton Hears a Who, and is, this little tiny thing that's on the flower and everything from Horton Hears a Who. And, the Grinch in that is, like, every year he, like, reenacts his, like, stealing of Christmas. So I don't know if that means that, like, every year on Christmas Eve he goes through and, like, completely gets rid of everybody's decorations and presents and everything like that, and then brings them back the next day. Or if it's, if you're a bad child, then like the Grinch will come and take your presents or something like that. Maybe, I don't know. But in the Jim Carrey version, they seem to turn the Grinch more into this, basically this like giant monster that lives on a hill, and then like everybody's terrified of him, and he plays into that, of course, which is just so fun. So, not an extremely long video, but just like my memories of the Grinch over the years and everything, growing up, watching the series, watching the movies, and, everything like that. And just like, I love how they just like bring Whoville to life in a lot of the different cases and everything, and like expand on the characters or take different routes with the characters, different moments where you see the Grinch start to shift or start to have like moments of sympathy throughout the course of the movies, which I like. The backstory that we did find out for the Grinch that they used for the Benedict Cumberbatch version for the Grinch is that the Grinch was an orphan, and that he just got so fed up with seeing all the other kids get like adopted from the orphanage, and seeing them happy with their families and everything like that. And then he didn't have that. He was just kind of left out. And I do like how, in the original version that's based completely off of the book, we have, the Whovians, Dr. Seuss. No, the Whovians as in like the Whovillians. I know that there are shirts that have Who's dressed up as Doctor Who. I know. I want one, but I don't have one. But in like the original one, the Who's, they're very noisy and everything like that, but they don't seem to treat the Grinch horribly. Whereas in, the live action one with Jim Carrey, they very much seem to treat the Grinch very badly. Throughout the course of the movie and everything, particularly the mayor, treats him very poorly. And then in this version, in the computer animated version, the Grinch, he isn't shunned by the townspeople. He's not, forced out or anything like that. They didn't make him leave Whoville or anything like that. They didn't like chase him out with like pitchforks and knives and torches and everything like that, like you would with Frankenstein. But he leaves of his own accord. But it make the because he does like this big speech when he first brings everything back in the movie, and like it kind of and he like apologizes for what he did, and then he just kind of leaves. He's not just like instantly given the honor of like carving the roast beast and like everything like that. It's he Ted said something very heartfelt speech of like, I'm sorry and everything like that, and then he leaves. And then the rest of the the Who's are all just like, kind of part of this is our fault. We may not have necessarily like shunned him, but we didn't really welcome him as much as we should have, and that is on us. We didn't extend him invitations to come to things as much as we thought we did, or we didn't try to see things from his point of view. And the Grinch, in that version, he does ends up coming because like Cindy Lou Who like goes up to the top of his mountain and like gives him this invitation, and then she goes back home, and he's just like, but I tried to steal Christmas. We know. Dinner's at 7 type thing, and then she leaves. And, the Grinch, he shows up at the dinner, and he's very kind of shy and awkward, and I love it. I do like that they didn't try to set up like a romance between like the Grinch and like Cindy Lou's mom. I'm like, okay, I'm glad they didn't do that, because like this movie does not need a romance. The original one doesn't really have any romance. This one doesn't need any romance. The one that they did for the Jim Carrey one, he does kind of have like a love interest throughout the course of the movie, and then like he kind of wins her back to a degree. Well, she never like lost affection for him, but he gets her back by the end of the movie, which is just kind of fun and everything. But like you see the Who's realize that part of this is our mistake, because we didn't invite him in. We didn't give him an opportunity or give him a reason to think that Christmas was a good thing, because like all he sees is this like consumer and buying stuff and everything, what can I get, what's for me, or like bragging about like how much you spent total on gifts, or like having the brightest lights, or anything like that. And we see that kind of a little bit in both the Jim Carrey version and the Benedict Cumberbatch version, and I like those comparisons that they do. And how it's not just the Grinch that needs to learn what Christmas is really about. It's also the Who's that need to learn what Christmas is more about. I would say the Who's a little bit more in the live action version need to learn what Christmas is more about than just all the gifts and everything like that. And we see that with like Cindy Lou's father, kind of being one of the main shifts in that thinking very quickly after everything's taken and such. And in the computer animated one with Benedict Cumberbatch, that version, Cindy Lou's mom she's just very much stressed, but she still tries to very much be there for her children and everything. And I wouldn't say that the Who's in that one are as much as obsessed with Christmas as, obsessed with Christmas in regards to spending money and everything like that. They still think that like bigger is better. Like they bring in like a Christmas tree that's like 3 times bigger than it was before. That Christmas is supposed to be 3 times bigger than it has been in the past. And that's one of the things that annoys the Grinch, is because, he already has like his own problems with Christmas, but the fact that the Who's keep seeing to just like, oh, we'll just make it bigger and better and everything like that. And, that doesn't go over very well. And that bigger isn't always better. Yes, they bring in the community to be a part of it and everything to make sure that, everybody's welcome in it, but they don't seem to extend a hand to the Grinch as much as they should. They don't seem to like do anything against him when he comes into town, although at one point in the CGI when he's literally being chased around the main streets of Whoville by a choir trying to sing to him, and he's just like, nope, I want nothing to do with this, and he's just like trying to run around, and they keep like popping up and following him, and it's just like, okay, if the guy's trying to run away from you, don't follow him. If he doesn't want you to sing to him, just leave him alone. But like, so we see that a lot when it comes to the Grinch in those cases. So I like how they do that comparison at times, or how they shift the different ways that the Who's need to look at what Christmas really is about, which is just basically a commentary on the fact that, like, as a culture, as, people in general, that we need to remember that Christmas is not just about all the food and the gifts and the toys and the ugly sweater parties and the decorations. It's about, spending time with your family, and it's about, I'm a religious person, but I try not to shove it down people's throats. If if they don't want me to, I don't do that. But I will say this as my piece: if you don't like it, that's fine. You do need to remember that why is we have this. Yes, I understand that it was like, the Christians took over this type of holiday from the solstice from, pagans, and I understand that, and I'm not denying that at all. That's why we have Christmas trees. That's why we have all these other things, is because we decided to went, oh, well, these pagans have a different idea of what should be going on this time of year. So we're just going to change it, and we're going to make this Christmas as this time of year because we can. So there's that. And I understand that is what happened in regards to Christmas. But, there is a little bit more of, for me, I love going to church, and I love singing the hymns on Christmas Eve and hearing the story of, the baby in the manger and, everything like that. And if that's not a part of Christmas that you do, but you still enjoy spending time with your family and helping others and giving goodwill and cheer, I have no problem with that. I have absolutely no problem with that whatsoever. And, if you are the people who like read through everything in regards to Christmas, in regards to, the Christian side of things, then that's fine too. But remember not to force that on people if they don't want it. So that's why it's, I thank you very much all for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope you have a nice rest of your day, and I hope that you have a happy and safe holiday season. Bye.
Then the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before. What if Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a store? What if Christmas, perhaps, means a little bit more